Mark, I made something special for you. It's not all 3 verses. It's not the extended version, although it does have the extended version's intro. So it's a minute 25 total, and I'm just killing time until the lyrics come in. But I've had this in mind actually for a month, and this is a gift from me to you because you make so many jingles.
Mark and Tim together, Talking Joe, it's a show. Press record, it's a podcast about comic books, publishing, interviews. Mark will summarize the story. But what if Tim says it's too boring?
He probably won't.
Mark, he's a British guy, he finds his comic books.
They're Talking Joe.
Tim, he's American, he owns a retail store.
They're Talking Joe.
Mark, posting episodes on every Thursday. You might just see it their way. Talking Joe!
Hey, how's about that? You are listening and or watching Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe comic podcast, but we're not quite G.I. Joe today. We are M.A.S.K. We are talking M.A.S.K. issue 1, which was released Wednesday, June the 10th, 2026. But I will not be talking about that issue all by myself. As usual, I'll be joined by my co-host. It's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark. Listeners, viewers.
Hello, Tim. And may I just take this opportunity to just lift my hat ever so slightly and thank you for that magnificent...
Lift your mask.
Congratulate you on that wonderful jingle. Now we'll have to just to justify the amount of effort that went into the jingle. We'll have to do a regular M.A.S.K. show every week.
Well, sooner than later, I'm sure some G.I. Joe characters will pop up for 3 pages at a time in issues of M.A.S.K. And then in 2027 or 2028, there'll probably be a big crossover. So not the last time. We'll be talking about an issue of M.A.S.K. on the show, probably.
Indeed. So we are recording this episode a little bit ahead of time. We have got access to an early preview of the issue in electronic form, but it has not yet hit the racks. So Tim won't be flicking through a paper copy, and I don't have unwatermarked images to share on screen. So it will be a little bit less imagey in parts in towards the back end of the show. But before then, we've got lots of interesting things to look at, including a flick through of the gallery and all of that kind of stuff.
We do have the first 4 pages unwatermarked because those went out to everyone, regular people, press, store owners early, but there's only so much mileage. Little car joke for you there that we can get referring to pages 1 through 4 when it is a 30-page comic book.
We got that one in early, 30 pages, and it's priced at $4.99 as an oversized first issue comic book.
Yes, so just like Duke 1, Transformers 1, Scarlet 1, Destro 1, Cobra Commander 1, G.I. Joe 1, and Void Rivals 1. And then some of the sort of special issues that they've done now and then. Yes, extra pages and extra $1.
Extra $1. So the synopsis for this one is: the world is becoming a terrifying place. Match Trakker needs your help saving it. Enter M.A.S.K, Mobile Armored Strike Kommand, a network of specialists ready to respond to the next global emergency. At a moment's notice, Trakker and his agents can deploy bleeding-edge technology that converts their vehicles and their drivers into the ultimate weapon. But Miles Mayhem and V.E.N.O.M are one step ahead of a secret arms race scouring the globe for deadly weapons from this planet and beyond, ready to sell out the entire human race. Only M.A.S.K can stop them, but will Trakker's own secrets jeopardize their entire mission? Interesting.
Let's point out G.I. Joe's tagline, slogan, A Real American Hero, Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye, the robots in disguise. And M.A.S.K had illusion is the ultimate weapon. And that is referred to here in that first, or depending on how you're counting, second paragraph of this solicitation description. The ultimate weapon. And that solicitation, having read the first issue, it sort of does give you a bit of a hint as to a bit of what, where the story might be going, which I hadn't quite picked up on first reading, but reading it back and having read that first issue, interesting sort of little Easter eggs hidden within the description. This issue is brought to us from the creative team of writer Dan Waters, artist Simon Parr, colorist Pierluigi Castellino, letterer Russ Wooten, who's pretty much lettering all of the Energon universe, and ARA, right? And editor is Ben Abernathy. So where do we want to go to first? Should we look at the covers, or do you want to say anything before we get there? Covers.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
So, Tim, before we get too started, there are, I believe, letters A through R as the official solicits of the covers, which is quite a few. Plus, there's retailer variants on top of that as well. So we've got a good lot of covers here. So we'll probably won't go too deep into every single one, but we can pick a few favorites and have just a bit of a gallery flick through of them. What
was the episode we did where it was just on covers for a comic book, and then we did
G.I. Joe issue 1 had so many. It was over 50 in the end, I think.
Right. So we did just one episode on only covers, and then we did an episode on the comic book. Okay. Yes. I'll pick my favorites 4, and you pick your favorite 4, and we'll just quickly just identify the other ones. Cover A is drawn and colored by Pi Parr. It's wraparound. It's gorgeous. There are 2 dominant colors, red and purple. But with that red, there's also some magenta and some orange, and that purple is sort of also lavender and also blue. Behind everything is a grid, which is a lovely reference back to the first second of the main title theme to the animated M.A.S.K cartoon, where the camera flies over a sort of landscape that's sort of geometric, like pyramids, but animated as, black with glowing green grid lines over it. Mark has an image of that right now as our background. Here the grid is, red with orange lines. And this is a montage. So we've got some heroes, we've got some villains, we've got Trakker's car, we've got a streak, which sort of acts like the road, but in sort of a Hot Wheels, fantastic, loop-de-loop track configuration. It's kind of just a ribbon, a swash of color through. We've also got Mayhem's vehicle, and it's a really neat cover for a first issue, because it shows you the 2 or 3 or 4 things you need. Main good guy, main bad guy, main good guy car, main bad guy vehicle. They're wearing masks. The heroes and villains are separated, front cover, back cover. And there's a sense of, action and dynamism and maybe even menace. I'm going to jump way to the end. Is it cover S? Are you counting
I was
and
gonna
T for the second printing covers? Because those were announced this week. That issue 1 is already sold out before issue 1 gets to stores on sale. And Pipar, I think, I'm doing this from memory, switched the... Okay, it is a new drawing. Okay, all right. Pipar did not switch the placement of heroes and villains from the first to the second printing cover, but put the villains on the front and the heroes on the back, and now Mayhem's...
No, he has flipped them, hasn't he? If you look at Mayhem here, so it is...
is it a flop? It's... Oh, okay, wait, toggle back and forth? Okay, all right, I'm half right on both. It's not new art. It's new art on the... What is it? The Razor Crest? That's the Mandalorian's helicopter that becomes a jet.
Razor
Cake, that zine. Razor Beast, that Predacon from Beast Wars. What's this called? Diamondback, the Cobra vehicle from 1989.
I think we're gonna be really exposing our mask knowledge because we don't. There is one called the Razorback, which is a sort of that's Brad Turner's Jeep, which is a
Switchblade, Razorblade, something like that.
Is it Switchblade? Stiletto.
Folks, if ever there was a time that you wanted to
Stiletto is something different.
Give up on Talking Joe and just catch us, Chris McLeod, with Full Horse, because when we did an episode together, Chris sure demonstrated to me his deep knowledge of M.A.S.K, which I very much appreciated. Anyway, this is a new drawing of Max Mayhem's vehicle here, but it is a sort of left-right flipping, which the technical term is in Photoshop, I think, flopping, where the heroes and villains are sort of mirror image, but the same colors. If you saw it from a distance, you'd think it's the same image as the first printing. Anyway, Mark, you pick a cover, or let's just go to.
I was going to note as well that for an extra $1, cover N is a foil variant of this same cover.
Okay.
So let's have a bit of a step through, and we could stop when we say go.
Oh, this one I want to talk about.
This one we've got to talk about. This is cover B, Sabine Rich and on color, and J. Scott Campbell. I think there's something special about J. Scott Campbell in terms of, for us as G.I. Joe fans, because he's so synonymous with those wonderful covers on the Marvel trade paperback reprints, and also the launch of G.I. Joe at Devil's Due, where he did the cover to issue 1 for that, as well as that original Wizard spread that kind of got G.I. Joe back into the public consciousness just ahead of the Devil's Due kind of relaunch. That's
Wizard issue 111, which was cover dated December 2000. M.A.S.K was not in that article, though. That article had sort of pretend new art for G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Thundercats. Those were the 4 80s brands that article was sort of pitching to come back. Please continue, Mark.
No, I mean that was it. I think his art from seeing that was so modern and exciting, and being associated with G.I. Joe coming back and back in a very modern and exciting way. Just seeing him draw another 80s property in a very similar kind of vein it's just lovely to see, and it sort of brings back a lot of good, warm, positive feelings, I think.
This cover, if you were to describe this in a paragraph, you might use almost the entirely same language as the Pi Par A cover, because it has heroes and villains. It's got 2 or 3 vehicles. It's got a grid in the background and no physical place as the background. They're just sort of, it's a montage of bodies and heads and shoulders in space. The vehicles are sort of zooming at you and also firing their weapons. Couple things that are a little different about this. One, Miles Mayhem is wearing his mask, but it is drawn transparently. So you can see his face. You can see his expression. And I haven't read M.A.S.K comics. I've only seen, let's say, 10 episodes this decade and maybe 10 or 20 when it originally aired. So I'm no experts. But I'm guessing we've rarely, or maybe never, seen someone draw a mask this way. And this reminds me of two things. One, this convention from old Spider-Man comics where an artist would draw half of Peter Parker's face as a flat Spider-Man mask when he's suspecting danger in his civilian guise or his Spidey sense is going off. And two, the way that the first Iron Man movie from Marvel Studios depicted Tony Stark as a close-up in a sort of black like room in a tiny black space with like heads-up holograms in front of him to show us what Tony Stark is seeing when he is in the Iron Man suit, when he's wearing the helmet, even though, of course, there isn't that much space separating, his cheeks from the actual inside of that helmet. And I wonder if, on purpose or incidentally, J. Scott Campbell is creating a whole new, or if it's happened before, popularizing a whole new convention on how to draw M.A.S.K characters here. Or this is just going to be a like reaction plus, Four Horsemen color redo of a M.A.S.K figure in a year where it's like, get the Miles Mayhem figure with a transparent mask, like the cover of that comic. And up until now, Matt Trakker on the cover of Energon Universe special had his mask on. So if you missed any of the preview pages, if you missed the IDW version of M.A.S.K, this might be your first visual that Matt Trakker is no longer a blonde Caucasian, but is an African-American with black hair. And for comics people, this is now old news. This is 10 years old, and this was Hasbro's idea. And Mark has just put up a very helpful slide with a cover of IDW's 2016 M.A.S.K issue number 1, which I did buy because G.I. Joe characters are in it for 3 pages. Yes, cover. Should we go on? Cover C?
Yep, cover C is Cedric Poulard, who has got a wonderful Instagram post on this one. In reaction to people sort of saying, "Oh, that foot that you've drawn doesn't look quite right." He sort of has shown the reference that he has got where he's sort of posing his foot and trying to capture that angle on it. But it's quite similar to a variant cover that he actually did for the Energon Universe Special 2026, a sort of similar kind of neon Miami kind of feel to it, with, I think this is Vanessa Warfield, if I'm remembering correctly, and we're going to get a lot of these wrong. And it looks great. And Cedric Poulard sort of has graduated from being an artist who was just doing the retailer exclusives to now actually doing a lot of these actual mainline Skybound releases as well. And this particular one is available both as a open order release as the cover C, but also as a retailer exclusive foil variant and Virgin variant from 616 Comics.
I do like this.
He's got an oeuvre of sort of voluptuous women, and he's playing into that.
I do like this image. The anatomy looks a little off to me. I feel like her legs might be a little too short for her torso. But I do like this cover. Let's move on to D. You take this one. It's Rax.
This
Sly Rax.
Is Sly Rax, Wrecker, Mark Spears. Looks great. He's a really fun character. I'm really sort of digging him from the appearances that we've seen of him so far. Nicely painted by Mark Spears, who's done some work on G.I. Joe covers.
This one's a portrait. He's lit by green light. There's a purple background. It's just a torso, a grimace. He's holding his mask, and his gloves look like Freezy Freakies. Cover around D, E now.
This is E.
E is drawn by Tom Riley and help me out, colored by.
There's additional credits for Julio Ferreria and Adriano Lucas, who would be the colorist.
Okay. This is one of 4 connecting covers, one each week this month. Void Rivals G.I. Joe Transformers will also finish out this image. It's the 3rd year anniversary Energon Universe connecting covers. They have no logos. The M.A.S.K one is the part of the image that's all the way on the right, and there's a platform that allows the human-sized M.A.S.K characters and vehicles to be up close, with Ultra Magnus and some other Transformers behind them. There are no G.I. Joe characters sneaking onto this cover. There are also no Void Rivals characters sneaking onto this cover, but Spike and Carly are here. And gosh, are they standing on Matt Trakker's car? I know it's a armored plane car, but geez. I've already mentioned how much pink there is in these 4 covers, and I love it. And then the F version is inks only, black and white. Quite striking.
That's right.
Really fun to see Tom Riley draw Transformers again. Much less M.A.S.K.
Cover G is Kale Nagu, which is Miles Mayhem in cuffs, playing a little bit into that sort of sequence where he was being arrested in the pages of Transformers a few months ago. And this is sort of like got that faded out sort of CRT sort of TV sort of monitor screen type look to it, with a lot of green in there, as if it's being looked through a security monitor.
Yes.
A nice, a striking cover. I like this one.
Yeah.
Then next up is E.J. Su for the cover H, continuing his kind of isometric 3D blueprint designs of various vehicles. And Matt Trakker's red car being spotlighted for this one.
Thunderhawk, and it's on.
Yeah,
it's
got that theme tune where he goes thunder, 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 Thunderhawk, go when he's driving really fast.
It's on blueprints. The color image is on blueprints, and the blueprints have been inverted, so it's white lines on blue. Very fun and striking. That was H, so now we're on I. This is John Boy Myers. Matt Trakker standing with a look of steely determination. His head is slightly bowed forward. He's holding his mask in front of him at chest level. And there are some red sort of sparks in front of him. There is a grid behind him, but because it is perpendicular to us, the sort of camera, it's like parallel to the wall that's not there in this straight on view. It reads as much like a grid as it does sort of shelving behind
or
them,
tiles, I was thinking, looking at these masks that are floating behind him, I think they're just meant to represent the characters, much like we've seen on Spider-Man covers and that kind of thing. But when I was first looking at it, I was thinking, is that like a trophy wall? But these are actually masks, sort of mounted on the wall. This is actually we are in sort of non-open to order territory here as well. The Kale Nagu cover G was a 1 in 25. The E.J. Su was a 1 in 50, and we are now on John Boy Myers with a 1 in 100 foil variant.
Yes, foil. I do like Myers' coloring. I do find it's sometimes a little aggressive for sort of his arrangements. And what I'll point out here is Trakker's elbow on the right side, where it overlaps with that other M.A.S.K helmet. I know where Matt Trakker ends and the helmet begins, but I do feel like sometimes less color, less rendering, less effects, less detail would help these elements that are on separate planes appear more separate. At the same time, Myers does really gorgeous work with reflected light. Look at all the red on the bottom of the bottom left of Mayhem's helmet. All right, so that was I. Now we're on to J.
Yeah, so this is Joshua Cassara with his regular colorist Romulo Fajardo Jr., and this is 1 in 250. It's a close-up of Miles Mayhem's mask with the Thunderhawk being reflected in the chrome of his visor.
This is a straight-on view, so we're looking straight at Miles Mayhem, just a foot away from himself, and then sort of maybe 30 feet behind us, and we're invisible here, is this red flying car coming right at him, and it's blasting away. Cover K
is a 1 in 500 variant. So I wonder how many of these will be out there. This is a Daniel Warren Johnson variant, and it's striking because it is just so different to any other cover that you might expect to see on M.A.S.K issue number 1. It is Matt Trakker in his car in a drive-through, and he's sort of leaning out of the side of his car window, picking up a delivery van as the fast food workers are kind of hanging out of their food delivery window, passing the bag across and sort of admiring his wheels. Notably,
he's not flying, he's not speeding, he's not even driving, and Thunderhawk is in car mode, not in flying car mode, and there is no M.A.S.K. Just you see Matt Trakker as a guy, you see his face. We should credit this as Mike Spicer, the colorist, colorist of Daniel Warren Johnson on Skybound projects. Man, 1 in 500. I know I've said this before, but this seems like such a strange contradiction where Skybound tells us that issue 1 has sold out, right? That means at the distributor level. That means that Lunar does not have any more copies to sell. But of course, your local comic book store, which at time of recording is going to be putting it on sale in a few days, and at the time of you listening, it has been on sale for a day or several. They're not. Every store that ordered this comic isn't sold out, and I don't know how many stores ordered this 1 in 500, but let's say there were, and I'm sure it's a couple eBay people and some of the mega sort of mail order people, right? So they've got a different arrangement in terms of storage and warehousing. But retailer, whether it's a physical store or a store of the mind or a warehouse, mail order store, let's say that 3 big retailers and 1 mega collector, whether they're a M.A.S.K fan or not, got this, right? Let's say that they printed 4 copies to sell, and I'm sure they printed a few more because you have to do that in case of damages. And the number might be much higher. That means that there are, by this guess, 2,000 regular copies of number 1 that got shipped out there to these, again, I'm making this up, 3 retailers and 1 mega collector retailer. And so if you go to your store in the next month and they're sold out of M.A.S.K and they're waiting for the second prints, somewhere out there, and I don't know if you can find it, but there are many, many copies. And that's just the cover A. Or a mixture of the, A and B and C without the foil. So fun, but nuts.
Nuts, yeah. Then I've just got a couple of images of the blank cover variant. So we've got a yellow M.A.S.K logo for the goodies and a green M.A.S.K logo for the baddies, with the sort of just above the EU, you've got the M.A.S.K being switched between Matt Trakker's M.A.S.K and Miles Mayhem's M.A.S.K. This is an extra $1.
Yes, this is extra $1, and these are cardstock. And folks, if you've never held one of these, good news. Underneath the cardstock is the regular A cover. This is standard practice for Skybound on its sketch covers, and I got to say that's really nice because the A cover is so neat. These 2 are open to order. These are not ratio. If your store is charging you extra for these, your store is crummy. Was that KL? What are we up to now? M?
I'm not too sure what those are lettered, but those are actually yes. Where are we? L and M. Okay. N is the foil variant version of the Piper A. O is a foil variant of the J. Scott Campbell cover, and then we are on to cover P and Q, which are, if you mind your P's and Q's, are die-cut foil variant versions by credited to Andres Juarez, who is the production designer at Skybound, with Piper providing the actual art. So Andres is doing the design.
What's this other name on screen, Mark? Pipar, Luke Priest, and Andres Juarez.
Yeah, he must be doing the color on these, I would have thought.
And then Juarez is doing the sort of burst design. So if you haven't held these, and they've done them for Void Rivals and for G.I. Joe, the actual mask, the actual helmet is a separate piece. Pretend that that's like a second cover, and they've cut away everything around it and now folded in half. So imagine you have a taco and you're holding your 3-ring binder with your empty taco shell, right? And your 3-ring binder is closed. So the mask helmet here is your empty taco shell, and I don't know if this is working, but and then I assume it's a regular A cover underneath these. These are fun. These can get damaged very easily if they are put into back issue bins, if they are not bagged or bagged and boarded, because there's an extra cardstock thing on top of the cardstock cover that can snag on the comic in front of it or behind it.
And then next up, we have cover R, which is a blind bag, which I believe might also be an extra $1. And the blind bag gives you, I believe, a chance of getting any of the regular covers, and also a couple of exclusives. So I believe that there is a Mark Silvestri in there and an Ian Bertram cover that we have not yet had revealed, which will be exclusive to the blind bags. And
the blind bag itself is a Mylar sealed bag that you don't tear, you probably cut on the top or bottom. It is printed on the outside front with a recolored version of Par's A cover. Now it's just in sort of red and yellow and purple. And it does say on it blind bag. If you're getting confused with all the blind bags, folks, Dynamite charges $10 for its blind bags. Marvel will put some of the regular covers aren't possible to be found inside a blind bag, and then a bunch of exclusive covers can only be found in the blind bag. And Marvel's also having like 10 of their artists each time draw a single original art sketch on a blank cover that goes into a blind bag. What's the next Marvel blind bag? Doom Quest #1 for 616 Day.
I think,
folks, I'm just excited to read the actual Doom Quest because I think Ryan North is a really good Fantastic Four writer, and as a store owner, I would love to have an out of continuity, timeless like Doom miniseries graphic novel to sell starting next year, and that's what this miniseries purports to be. Anyway, back to M.A.S.K. Back to M.A.S.K.
I do like the blind bags. I have ordered one. I might do a little video of my unbagging. Is that what it's called? When I get it through. But it's a fun way of having a little bit of a chance of getting, for example, that Daniel Warren Johnson 1 in 500 without having to pay the premium for it. So it's a way of getting a cover that you might not otherwise have wanted to pay the premium for or actively sort out. So I think it's a bit of fun.
Tell the truth. If you got the 1 in 250,
it would definitely be sold.
Okay.
Yeah, it would definitely be on eBay. Yeah.
I think what you should do if you get the 1 in 500 and you sell it on eBay, I think you should use all that money to buy more M.A.S.K. #1 blind bags.
Maybe. I did get a couple of the Battle Beast blind bags. That was fun. Particularly because the first one issue that I bought was a blind bag, and for Battle Beast they included one of the variants was issue #2. So I bought that, and I had issue #2, and I was like, well, I'm going to hold on to this one because I don't actually have this issue. So I had to buy another one to get issue #1. But that was fun. So that's the blind bag, and is that the end? Yes, that is the end of those covers. I'll just pop up. We have got the M.A.S.K. Issue #1. We already looked at the second printing by Piper, and then we've also got the Jason Howard variant for the second printing of number 1, which is a lot of fun because he's been doing all of these second printing variants, sort of spotlighting a character at a time, with a sort of standard background, white with a logo of some description. And for M.A.S.K, clearly, we've got this kind of blue vector graphic thing happening. And I did write it down that the second printings will be out Wednesday, July the 8th.
Is that maybe the date that issue 2 of M.A.S.K Streets?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's like literally a month after the street date for issue number 1, so around about that time.
This is a funny reminder that although the overall M.A.S.K brand has a symbol, which is that sort of more generic helmet with the 2 eyes that we see on Matt Trakker's watch, and that is part of one version of the Kenner M.A.S.K logo from the 80s, when it's not just the letters but also a little face. There is no symbol for the good guys and a symbol for the bad guys, right? Autobots and Decepticons have symbols. G.I. Joe and Cobra have symbols. Void Rivals don't. And sort of the closest you get is like Matt Trakker's helmet and Miles Mayhem's helmet. And I'm not saying we need one. I'm just saying, what's the solution here when you need a background element, right? Well, the Dreadnoks logo or the Arashikage logo, and here it's a grid, and you know, for just like 2 seconds of animation, although in every single episode, that grid sure you know, reaches forward into the M.A.S.K brand identity.
Absolutely. So that is the covers. I won't get into too much into the retailer exclusives, other than to say that as at time of recording, we're aware of the 616 Cedric Poulat one, the Black Saber comics by Michael Watkins, the Eastside comics by Scan Series, I'm not going to pronounce that very well, Scan Srisuwan cartoon retro virgin variant, and then there's a Nirvana comics by Joseph Schmalke, and I go to leagueofgeeks.com as my go-to website to try and find nice images of these. So if you do want to see the full image gallery, you can head on over there. Now, before we get too into things, I'll just remind that this issue is basically a sequel to the story of Energon Universe 2026 special. You can look at that as basically the issue number 0, that this is the issue number 1 sequel to. And we talked about that issue and much, much more with the creative team of Dan Waters and Piper in our interview. So if you haven't yet checked that out, it is spoiler-free for this issue, not spoiler-free for the Energon Universe special. But yeah, do seek that out. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
Right. And speaking of the Energon Universe special, it closed out with Matt Trakker being chased by some army types, and you speculated that we might start the next story way far in the future. No reference to this particular story thread. Tim, any observations or thoughts?
Well, you countered and said, I bet issue 1 will pick up a moment later with Matt Trakker driving away from this crowd of U.S. government adversaries, and you were correct. So I owe you a Mark Silvestri blind bag exclusive variant cover when I definitely get one. I believe that was our bet.
Very good, very good.
Watch out! There's spiders ahead! Turn back before it's too late!
Cool. So now we've covered the covers, we'll get into the inside, and what better way to do that than via the medium of a plot breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
In the Nevada desert, picking up where the Energon Universe special left off, Matt Trakker is in a car chase pursued by the military. He pulls to a stop, allowing himself to be arrested. In New Jersey, Vanessa Warfield is looking for the location of something from one of the research team who has made a discovery in Fruzenland. He has freaky Swiss cheese holes in his torso, while Sly Rax attempts to torture the information from another contact. While in Alaska, Miles Mayhem talks to another of the team about the extraterrestrial device that he found, a wormhole generator designed for interstellar travel. It is a one-way conversation given that the professor is dead. In his cell, Matt Trakker is then interrogated by General Flagg, but one of his guards is an enemy Venom agent, and he uses compression technology to activate a mask. They get into mask fights, Trakker defeats him, and Flagg then tries to recruit Matt Trakker. But instead, Trakker gives Flagg a Mask Network watch and breaks out in his flying car. Elsewhere, Mayhem, Warfield, and Rax have arrived in Fruzenland, hot on the tracks of a malfunctioning Stargate. What do you think, Tim?
Okay, so you used a word term compression technology, and Matt Trakker uses that term in this issue. He pushes a little button behind his ear, and his mask helmet comes out of nowhere and sort of encases his head at full size, kind of like Star-Lord in all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And that Venom agent, who's his guard, does the same thing. You and I are not the biggest M.A.S.K fans historically, and we're not M.A.S.K experts, but I think that's new. Question mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm not the expert, but it did feel like it was probably an invention for this issue. That would be my best guess. That is new.
And you know what? Again, to use this sort of comparison with Peter Quill and Peter Parker in the Marvel movies. If you watch these movies, Spider-Man, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, oftentimes they'll be in an action sequence with their mask or helmet, and then they'll like stop punching or kicking or swinging, and they'll sort of land, and they'll like pull off the mask or push a button and the helmet retracts. And then you see the actor's face again in a seamless sequence, right? Because that mask is a visual effect, and then the actor will say something, and then oftentimes they'll like put the mask back on or push the button, and the Star-Lord helmet comes back around and covers the guy's face, and then they like run off screen or jump away and start blasting. And sort of conventional wisdom, you know, when like Marvel movies were going to maybe happen in the 80s, you know, like Tom Cruise is sort of interested in Iron Man, or like James Cameron wants to make Spider-Man, was that a lot of these big actors who might have been in these movies would not want their faces to be covered for a long time. And that plays out perfectly in Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, where like the first thing he does is he takes his helmet off, which is a no-no for Judge Dredd. So in M.A.S.K, we want to see them wear their masks, but also their masks are really big. This is not like Robin's of Batman and Robin's domino mask, which you can fold and put in your shirt pocket, right? This is a big piece of tech that I think in a recent comic book fit in a suitcase. And so although I like the idea of sort of the reality of like, well, Spectrum is, that's Matt Trakker's helmet. Spectrum is always on the passenger seat, right? When he's like driving normally and not doing battle. It doesn't work. And so this is a solution. And also it speaks to the sort of futuristic tech of the whole thing. But it does, I sort of wish that everyone had like at least a collar, you know, or like a bigger epaulette, the shoulder things. Cause although, you know, I'm totally okay with Megatron going from like 30 feet to a person-sized pistol. So, which previous continuity is called mass shifting. Anyway, that's what I thought of when Matt Trakker said compression technology in this issue. I thought, oh, like mass shifting. in Transformers comics.
Yeah, and looking at the page again, I don't know that there is any sort of visual signifier at all. We just see them, put a finger to just, behind their ear, and there's a little SFX KLK to sort of signify a click, and then it sort of comes pretty much from nowhere to sort of surround the head. And
but there is you should call it out. There's when it happens for each the good guy and the bad guy, there's a 4-panel sequence of the helmet sort of expanding, right? From you don't see much of it to it's like half covering his face to it's 75% covering his face to it's 90% covering his face, and then you can sort of see his eyes through the visor part, and that's a neat visual that Waters and Parr have, because if you do it once, we're sort of with you for the rest of it. But if it just like blinked into existence with no movement panels, we might sort of scratch our heads.
And I guess to speak to it as well, this series is called M.A.S.K. And when I think of M.A.S.K, I often think about like Matt Trakker as a character. I think about the cool vehicles. But I don't necessarily, M.A.S.K is part of the character design, but I don't think of necessarily the masks as being such active elements of the kind of the story. It could be an easy thing for a writer to downplay this aspect of the mask itself, I think. So it's cool that they're really leaning into that mask element and actually having literal mask battles within this first issue.
In the animated series, each mask had a power, and a lot of it was like levitation or like energy blast or like a gravity thing or like a whip, like an energy whip. And it will be interesting to see what writer Dan Waters does with this, because as a kid, my impression of the cartoon and watching some episodes more recently, it's that you sort of have to handicap these characters because the mask powers are so powerful that however specific it is, it's like, well, you can't use it too often. It's like, oh, I'm out of power, or like it has to recharge, or the writer has to come up with, the writer of a given episode has to come up for an excuse, like, oh, I'm around the corner and I can't see him, so I can't use my whip because I wouldn't know what to lasso. And I hope that Waters introduces something more interesting and complex than just low on power, have to recharge, like can only use it once. That's fine for Peter Parker. Like, I'm out of web fluid. I got to go home and get a refill cartridge, or I got to make more web fluid. But I think about how, like in Star Trek stories, there's like 17 things they can do with dilithium crystals or the main deflector dish to get out of various jams. And I don't know. I think about how maybe like a really smart writer like Grant Morrison or Jonathan Hickman thought of inventive ways to work with established X-Men mutant powers to sort of have them combine or use them in ways you'd never thought, which made some previous writers' stories feel sort of less interesting by comparison. So I'm hopeful for Dan Waters to come up with a bit of a hook, a bit of a layer of complexity for these masks. And then we have the challenge of, if they all get names, we have another set of names to remember
them. Or not. So I don't want to go too far through this episode before I say the words backdoor pilots, Tim. I think you're probably a fan of the concept of a backdoor pilot. We had Transformers and G.I. Joe sort of creating the characters in universe of Miles Mayhem and Matt Trakker, and then we had a issue, well, not even an issue number 0. We had an Energon Universe special, then sort of really introducing the readers to this world and this particular creative team. So I'll just linger on that and let you meditate on the concept of M.A.S.K as a backdoor pilot.
Yeah, I think a lot of us who pay attention to these toy brands, right? And let's just remember, M.A.S.K was a Kenner product in the 80s. M.A.S.K was a competitor of G.I. Joe and Transformers, right? Where I lived, G.I. Joe and Transformers were on sequentially, and M.A.S.K was on a different channel at one of those same times. So I had to choose. And, and later Hasbro bought Kenner and therefore got the M.A.S.K name and assets. And that's how we, later on get these in a shared comics universe a decade ago and now again. And it makes so much sense because M.A.S.K is like halfway between G.I. Joe and Transformers. G.I. Joe is a vehicle-based toy line. I know we don't think of it that way anymore with Classified and much of a less emphasis on vehicles, but absolutely Hasbro thought of this as a action vehicle line in 1982, and M.A.S.K was an action vehicle line. You did not buy figures by themselves. You bought a vehicle and it came with one, maybe two guys. But these vehicles all half transform. And they're not intelligent. They're not autonomous. They are vehicles. And it's all earthbound, right? There's no alien technology. Oh, that's something else we should talk about with this issue. Aliens. I remember thinking like 2 or 3 or 4 Transformers live action movies ago, maybe they should just introduce G.I. Joe here because Lorenzo Di Bonaventura doesn't seem to know how to introduce G.I. Joe in its own movie. I feel like, I don't know, the 4th movie or the 5th movie, there was some scene where one of the evil humans is like reverse engineering some Transformers tech, and maybe he says a dumb word like transformium as a rare element or energy source, or I don't know. I didn't see 4 and 5, but it's sort of similarly, I thought, man, this is just M.A.S.K. Like, just have M.A.S.K in this universe, Skydance and Paramount. So getting back to your idea of backdoor pilot, this speaks again to how Skybound both moves very slowly and very quickly. That the pace of the comics, there's a lot of action and a lot of surprises, and character introductions happen much sooner than we think. At the same time, ground is laid well in advance for things that'll be revealed later on. And didn't we learn in our interview episode that M.A.S.K was, or the bit of editorial at the end of the Energon issue, M.A.S.K was part of the plan from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And yet it doesn't come to fruition. It doesn't start until when did Miles Mayhem show up? Transformers 25?
25, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Dan Moore issue, right? So that's 2 months in, right? And you count like 1 or 2 skip months, and the fact that Transformers was, launched a month or 2 after Void Rivals, that's like 27 months in. And at the same time, I was totally surprised when M.A.S.K did show up, and I thought, well, they're going to have this go for a long time before they do a full series, because I don't think it doesn't have the fandom, it can't carry it. And I was wrong once again. I should stop guessing what Skybound is going to do in terms of timing. Also, I'm sure Snake Eyes is going to show up on the first page of issue 2 of M.A.S.K, and we'll all be wrong. So this makes a lot of sense. It's a shared universe, and it's built from the beginning. And at the same time, M.A.S.K is gonna have its own identity and play at the margins of the G.I. Joe and Transformers story. The word G.I. Joe gets mentioned once in this issue, and Matt Trakker sort of grumbles about it. And the word Transformers or Autobots or Decepticons is not mentioned, but was it alien robots or giant robots? That term is mentioned. And so, M.A.S.K needs to have its own identity so that it doesn't feel like the G.I. Joe spinoff that Flag wants it to be. You'll work as a subsection of G.I. Joe. No, I won't, says Matt Trakker. And at the same time, this needs to be sort of exciting and new and urgent enough that it grabs a good percentage of all of the established Energon universe readers, because there is not a big enough M.A.S.K fandom to support this comic on its own. If this was like Dynamite or a smaller publisher and they got the M.A.S.K license, I bet they could do it with a low readership, and it could stick around for a year. But Skybound wants to go big. Skybound does not want series that don't last. Skybound wants series that do last. And for this to sort of fulfill its promise, it's got to stick around for 2 or 3 or 4 years. So we get this weekly dose of the Energon universe, and we build out this larger story. And then, we head to some big crossover or event in a year, ? Or 2.
Yeah, indeed. Shall we sort of,
yes,
as Coldplay once said, get back to the start and see how this sort of issue plays out. So we pick up in the Nevada desert. It's Matt Trakker in the Thunderhawk on the roads, not in car mode, being chased by in his antique relic of a car, but by the army, who then question, how is he going this goddamn fast in it? And it's a kind of a bit Thelma and Louise-y. I'd say that he's in the car being pursued by all of these military people behind him
in the
desert,
driving toward a ravine.
Driving toward a ravine. It definitely is hitting Thelma and Louise notes as he's sort of coming to a stop at the edge of the ravine, and they're wondering what he's going to do next. And what does he do next? He surprises them all by stopping and not going over the edge, but actually allowing himself to
be arrested.
To stop and be arrested. He's tempted. They say there's no way he can. Oh, I could. I really could. And as he's hovering, his finger is hovering over the button, ready to press the button to turn his car into a plane. But he lets himself get captured with intent.
So you have page 4 on screen right now, and that moment where he doesn't push the button is on page 5, and I found that a little confusing because the third panel on page 5 is a close-up of his red gloved hand on the special gear shift, and where there's a side red button that his thumb could push. And his thumb is not pushing it, but there are 2 little white, like sort of flash effect, when someone says "phew" or "cough" in a comic book, and you put 3 lines on either side of it to show that it's a sound effect, sort of like that. Like if someone knock 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 on a door, you draw some effect lines, which to me says he is pushing the button, even though his thumb is not depicted as on the red button. And I think this is the anticipation. This is emphasizing the little bit of space between his thumb and the button. But when I read this, I thought, oh, he's pushing the button. And what it's saying is, oh, he's not pushing the button, which I found visually a little confusing. So here's the question, Mark. Why did he not push the button, make the doors go up, and fly?
I think it's so that he can get captured and have the moment with Flag later on, and have that play out. Essentially, bring him into the M.A.S.K network. So yeah, he's thinking strategically. What do I want to accomplish? The best way of doing that is letting myself get captured and have that conversation.
Here's a big spoiler if you haven't been reading G.I. Joe for 3 months, and also the Energon Universe special. Mark, Matt Trakker does not know that Flag is not really Flag.
Well, Flag is Flag as far as we know. Hawk is not Hawk.
Oh, shoot. Getting mixed up.
So Flag was introduced in the pages of DESTRO. I think it was DESTRO issue number 4, written by Dan Waters. And funnily enough, there's a similar sequence where Destro turns himself in to Flag, wants to be able to kind of have a bit of a trade with Flag, get some G.I. Joe intel from him from that Flag. And here is a similar sort of dynamic of kind of not quite turning himself in, but letting himself be captured, and then being in a room at a desk with Flag to kind of have that exchange of ideas. And we don't necessarily know huge amounts of like Flag and the role that he plays, but he does seem to have like the operational authority to make that offer to Trakker to ask him if to join G.I. Joe. He says, you will work under supervision. M.A.S.K will be a subdivision of the Covert Special Missions Unit, G.I. Joe. And previously, we've seen Flag in Transformers, where he has this military force with the kind of G.I. Joe type logo. He's got Doc there, ostensibly someone that we know as a G.I. Joe character. So it speaks to him maybe being the leader or the authority figure in charge of a wider G.I. Joe beyond possibly the G.I. Joe that we know, or at least having the authority to call the shots with what G.I. Joe is and does.
Since we are now going to be referring to pages after this one, do you want to put just a cover or more neutral? Yeah. There we go. I'm embarrassed that I keep getting Hawk and Flag mixed up in the Energon universe. In my defense, lots of people couldn't tell Duke and Hawk apart in 1983 and 1984 because they both had blonde hair and they kind of looked alike. So that's cute. All right, so that's page 5, and then 6, and then he gets arrested on 7, and then we cut to New Jersey, and Warfield has messed up this guy's apartment. Tables kicked over, broken glass, some framed photos and things are scattered on the floor. And then on page, am I counting still correctly? 8. He opens up his pajama shirts under his robe to reveal that he's got actual little holes in his torso. And I thought when I read this panel, I thought, I don't know what those are. And I hope they really explain it, not just in dialogue, but in art. And Waters and Parr oblige me, because in the next panel, Warfield actually puts her fingertip in one, which is gross. And I think might speak to her character that she's, a little careless. I feel like a G.I. Joe character might sort of inspect with like a light on a cell phone or like a little, pen light, flashlight, and like put a cotton swab or a glove on. She is wearing a glove, but not a surgical glove. And then she refers to how terrible Sly Rax is going to treat the one of these 3 people that he's trying to find and interrogate. And we see Rax dragging this guy along from his motorcycle. And I think that's happening in Massachusetts. The advanced PDF that you and I have, there's like 1 or 2 glitches with the captions for where we are geographically, which I assume will get fixed for the printed comic. But
oh right, yeah, got it.
So the story sort of splits in 3, that Warfield goes to find someone, Rax goes to find someone, and Mayhem goes to find someone. And I think about the T for teen rating and what that gets you, what leeway that gets you, and sort of where we are as readers and as like probably more aged up readers than who would have been reading M.A.S.K comics in the 80s. And, this sequence where Rax is dragging this guy along the street with his motorcycle is not... Wow, very good. If you're listening and not watching, Mark has pulled up an analogous panel from the original Frank Miller Sin City story, reprinted as The Hard Goodbye, where Marv is dragging someone along the street from a moving vehicle. And this sequence does not the sequence looks more funny in M.A.S.K #1 and less like uncomfortable villain torture. But in terms of sort of pushing the edges of a T for teen book based on a toy, someone does say goddamn and someone does say Jesus. So I was just sort of counting the 3 sort of spicy things that happen. And I'm not offended. I don't need them to fix it or change it. But there is one little thing that where Warfield is talking to Rax on the phone, and you hear what Rax is saying sort of through her earpiece, and she says, Rax, hope you're because she's walking away from this old man that she just threatened, and she says, Rax, hope you're having more luck than I am. There's a question. Hope you're having more luck than I am. And he says, not so much, Vanessa. Hopefully Miles' one remembers the location. And she says, what's that sound? And then you turn the page, or the next page, there's this reveal of Rax on a motorcycle dragging this guy. And I really wish, this is a small thing, that Rax's dialogue where he says, not so much, Vanessa. Hopefully Miles' one remembers the location, had an exclamation mark, because he's outside driving really fast on his motorcycle, which is making noise, and there's a guy screaming. And so I think it should sound like this. Mark, you do this, and I'll do the dialogue. Not so much, Vanessa. Hopefully Miles' one remembers the location. Great, thank you. And this is a very small thing, but the treatment of the dialogue doesn't quite match the physical reality of the scene, and that was a little distracting for me, because you would not be speaking calmly when you're sort of leaning over your motorcycle holding a grown man with one hand. But anyway, objection, Your Honor, noted. I'll allow it.
And here's the inspiration for that motorcycle. This is Sly Rax on his Piranha, which is a sort of motorcycle with sidecar in that purple color.
And the sidecar becomes a little boat skiff, which is actually bigger than the motorcycle. Yes, I think we're going to see Pypar turn this purple motorcycle in issue 1 into a proper Piranha. So then we cut to...
And on the second to last page of the book, skipping forward, we actually do see the motorcycle with the sidecar as well when they have arrived at their final destination. And you also get a little snippet of Vanessa Warfield's vehicle as well in the top left-hand corner of that page, sort of covered up mostly by dialogue. Yeah,
that's page 29.
So we'll get to that in a bit, but I was just pointing out that we do get to see the rest of that vehicle in the story.
All right, so location classified, and Matt Trakker is in a little interrogation room with a two-way mirror, and he's handcuffed, and he's sitting in a folding chair, and this army guy is giving him a hard time, and then Flag comes in.
Yep.
Duke 1982 Duke comes in, and there's a nice bit of I've lost the page count. There's a nice bit of body language here after Flag comes in. That other guy abruptly stands at attention. His spine is straight, and this is where at the top of a page Trakker says, "General Flag, good to see you." So Trakker gets his hands uncuffed so they can talk, and he says, "Where's my car? Your goons better not have scratched it." "We have it. It's impounded." And were you, Mark, when looking at this panel at the bottom of a page of the red Thunderhawk amidst a bunch of olive drab military vehicles, were you on the lookout for any G.I. Joe vehicle designs? Because I sure was. And also that chase scene at the end of the Energon Universe special, just in case.
Yeah, half looking, I think. Yeah, I think I kind of was subliminally looking. But yeah, I did see this car in the car park and was thinking, yeah, that's definitely going to fly in a minute.
So they come to sort of an agreement that, let me back up a sentence. This scene where Trakker and Flag talk, Mark, what did you make of it? What they say and how they say it?
I thought it was a good bit of sort of showing their personalities, where they're coming from, and also a good little bit of exposition, because a lot of it is like exposition of trying to explain where they've come from, the fact that they put together this Shadow Watch team, that Trakker's been kind of set up and taken the fall. You know, he's got chip on his shoulder about that. Flag is a little bit, you know, uncaring about the details and more interested in what he can get out of a situation. And it plays out nicely. Sort of Flag very much turned onto the back foot. And I think Pa does really interesting things with kind of slightly cartooning of expressions, of really sort of turning up the dial on it, and getting a lot of interesting sort of facial expressions and emotions and body language sort of coming out from these talking head sequences.
This is a 4-page talking scene, and if you take out that guard who has 3 little word balloons and then stops talking, it's really just between 2 people. And I liked this. I did find by the 4th page of it that I felt a little bit talked to, and that I'm okay with a 4-page conversation, particularly a tense one, and particularly one that's giving this exposition in a comic. It did feel like, comparing this M.A.S.K issue 1 to Duke number 1, Cobra Commander number 1, etc., G.I. Joe number 1, which was not really a number 1, it was really like an issue 21. This M.A.S.K number 1, and different writer except for Destro. There was less action, there was more talking, and there was more talking while walking. And this page here, where it's the 4th page of this conversation, and by the end of it, I just thought it's a little bit too much for me. That I don't know how you would restructure this issue. But I wish some of this sort of, Mayhem is a maniac and he believes all these conspiracies, and, you did this and Mayhem talked to me and I gained his trust and I didn't believe everything and I made this stuff and I reverse engineered this stuff. By the end of it, I thought, I wish this scene was 1 page shorter and somehow some of these things would be shown in flashback or have maybe already happened in the pages of G.I. Joe and Transformers. And
to some degree, a lot of it has already happened. So it's sort of telling us a lot of what we already know, but not necessarily if this is the first issue that you're buying. So it serves a purpose in terms of the story, but also it serves a purpose in terms of getting potential new readers who are picking this up as issue 1 for the first time, who maybe either haven't read those stories or are less, memory might be hazy, and bringing them back up to speed. But turn the page, and then we've got a 2-page sequence with not 2 people talking to each other, but 1 person pretty much talking to himself. But again, really great body language and sort of mixing it up, different shots, really sort of bringing out the insanity behind Miles Mayhem's eyes in that first panel.
I do appreciate that Miles Mayhem is a very different character than Destro or Cobra Commander. Because it was going to be easy to have him not so interesting and sort of do the same things that they might do. But the writers of these books have found ways. And I'm not talking about visuals. I'm talking about what they say, how they say it, and what they do. So I do appreciate that bit about, conspiracies. And then even this, Destro did talk to himself. Destro was up in the snowy mountains of Europe, and he was talking to his ancestors. As giant, what were they? Giant statues or like suits of armor in the sort of ancestral dungeon treasure,
like catacombs,
secret catacombs. Thank you. So maybe we're finding some motifs that Dan Waters goes back to. But despite that joke, Destro would not do this scene this way, nor would Cobra Commander. So I do appreciate at that, because Mayhem has the potential to be a one-note villain who's, sort of no more interesting than like Major Blood in the first couple episodes of the G.I. Joe cartoon in the 80s, where, he's a bad guy and that's it. Like, the cartoon didn't have him recite poetry, and the cartoon didn't refer to his history as a mercenary. He was just a bad guy who led some Cobras and tried to stop the Joes and had talked with an accent. Yes. And then I think I'm trying to, again, you and I are reading a PDF. I sure hope that in the printed comic, when there is this reveal that Mayhem is talking to himself in talking to a corpse, and he puts out his hand, and then the next page he says, "You've been very helpful," and you see him shaking the hand of a corpse that's seated. I sure hope that is a page turn reveal and not on the right side, because that's fun. It's a little ghastly and it's very fun. This is not a zombie, but I guess we'll just very quickly say, hey, Skybound has published The Walking Dead. Zombies. Okay.
Even numbers on the PDF are right-hand side, so this is an odd page, so it should be a page turn. Excellent.
And
in this monologue, we find out a little bit, exposition about what's going on. That he's talking to someone who was in a research team sent out to Frozen Land. Frozen Land, Tim.
I spy with my little eye.
Frozen Land, of course, being a G.I. Joe invention by Larry Hama, one of his geographies that he created for the pages of Era, his equivalent to, a Norway type frozen wasteland. Frozen Land, of course, being a very clever play on words, because not only does it sound like frozen, but frozen is Swedish for frozen, so literally frozen land. Which was it actually introduced in issue number 2? I think that might have been where that base was that Quinn went to. Am I remembering that? Or am I inventing that?
I can't remember. If you'd asked me a minute ago, I would have said it came, in issue 70 or 80, but maybe it's...
Yeah, it was definitely used more frequently later on, but I'm just wondering to myself, is that true or is that false? Fact check time from the future. Issue number 2 was, in fact, just in the regular old Arctic, the North Polar ice cap, and not Frozen Land, which was not introduced until issue number 67 and 68. Yeah, so there was a research team in Frozen Land investigating anomalous seismic readings. They found a device that they were convinced was extraterrestrial and appeared to be functioning, and made them ill. It riddled their bodies with cancers. The 3 that survived began to suspect they had an encounter with something more horrendous, a kind of wormhole generator designed for interstellar travel, holes designed to poke holes in space-time, but still functioning and poking holes in them. Portals to the other end of the universe appearing in their very flesh. Does that mean that when Vanessa Warfield was doing that in that guy's holy flesh, that her finger was coming out the other side of the universe somewhere?
Yeah, she's like scratching Wheelie's ear near the sacred ring.
So these are big ideas that we're being introduced to, and sort of my mind is immediately going to the place of, we've got G.I. Joe and Transformers, playing about on planet Earth. You've got kind of Transformers and Void Rivals out there in space, which makes sort of, overlap between those worlds that much harder. But if you've got some sort of interdimensional, interstellar travel wormhole generator thing, suddenly the prospect of those worlds overlapping becomes that much nearer. Do you have the same thoughts?
Yes. Yes, I did. And it's really hit home after Trakker and this guard, who's a Venom agent who also has his own mask, when they Cyclops optic blast at each other and destroy the room. And the bad guy is about to vaporize Flag, and Trakker vaporizes him.
Well, he uses his special mask powers to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Yes, and I don't think there's much face left after that. Is that a skull? What am I? With a little dark circle behind the glowing blue smoke. When Trakker says, "Ugh, Jesus." T for teen. Anyway, after this fight, which we can't talk about, and then the car does the exciting thing. I'm jumping ahead. On the final page of this comic, what did you describe this as in your plot breakdown? That
I called it a Stargate, a malfunctioning Stargate.
So we see the final page 30 of this comic. We're in. Is it Fruzenland?
Yeah.
And we see these 3 parked Venom vehicles and the 3 Venom agents, and they're all wearing coats, which I appreciate. If it was gung ho, no coat, and gotta see that costume. And they walk across this
coat, but left open. I'll allow that.
Sleeveless coat. They walk across this snowy landscape, and it has all these holes in it. And on the final page, it's a full page splash. We're looking down, sort of this aerial view, and there are no people in the shot. So it's not like they have gotten to it and we can compare it for scale. It's like they're still 30 feet away, outside.
They're sort of looking for it. They think they're in the vicinity. And we sort of are cutting away to
where it actually is.
Somewhere, where it actually is, which may be very close or slightly further away. It's not completely clear how far away it is, but we guess that it's in the vicinity. Although we don't get lots of clues as to the scale of this thing,
right?
But
so there's no.
Having watched Stargate, I'm guessing it's Stargate sized, but
well. Okay, so there's no bear or penguin or deer nearby to give scale, and there are no rocks. There's just sort of snow covered this and that. It's sort of crackling with electricity, and there are some glowing holes near it that are also glowing with electricity, and it is sort of broken and on its side. And there's snow sort of in it and on it. So it is not fully activated right now. We can't sort of see through it. And there's like a star field or the M.A.S.K grid or like a planet in the distance that's actually across the galaxy. We just see it on its side, partially covered by snow. And I wanted to ask, does this look like the space bridge that we saw in, what was it, Transformers issues 10, 11, 12?
I don't know. Do you think there's the similarity to it?
Well, I should have checked. It wouldn't have been hard to just grab those comics and hold them up right now and tell you. But at first blush, it looks like what I remember them as. But I don't know that, what this comic wants to do is immediately tie this world and these characters to Cybertron, when there's also the various aliens we've met in Void Rivals, and then every other alien out there that we haven't met. At the same time, if this universe in story is going to be a little contained, maybe this should be a Cybertronian thing. Although I don't know, sort of, we have no indication of why. I'm thinking back to like issue 1 of Transformers, and there was not an indication that they had been to Earth before, right? Although Thundercracker, no, Skywarp, was it 2 issues ago in Transformers? Did Skywarp have a little nightmare sequence where he saw Globulus and Cobra La, and that has not been explained yet? Anyway, right. It's a mystery. And I'm ready for either of these 3 possibilities, that this goes to Cybertron, or it's Cybertronian, it goes to the planets of the Sacred Ring, or it goes somewhere else. Maybe it's Quintesson in Origin, or some alien we haven't met. Do you want to jump back and talk about Matt Trakker's escape? Do you want to talk more about this finale? I also have some thoughts overall.
I was just distracted. I pulled up the Transformers issue 11 as in the same time, and there's a kind of I guess the space bridge thing that Soundwave is using to Shockwave is using to
see, Shockwave and Soundwave both have blonde hair.
Yeah. And then the Autobots are traveling through a sort of differently shaped thing, which is a bit more of an interesting kind of rectangular kind of pink thing. Okay. But yeah, the Soundwave one, no, Shockwave one was sort of similar kind of Stargatey roundy looking one. So
also, Mark,
maybe
also downrange and long range both have blonde hair. So is your summation that it's inconclusive, or would you say that this Stargate at the end of Mask #1 does resemble one we've seen in Transformers?
It's not necessarily the identical design, but I think to your point that there's basically a Transformers technology that does something very similar is probably not too much of a giant leap to say possibly this is the Cybertronian technology that is being used here. Maybe
we should sort of confirm for something that Mayhem is saying, something he's saying, I think without saying it. Humans did not invent this device, right? Humans did not find a way to punch a hole through time-space to go elsewhere in the galaxy. This belongs to someone else, and it's here. Okay, so Trakkers. Well, that's a fun bit. Trakker. So the Thunderhawk impounded between some.
Before we get to the escape, there was a point as well. Let's just call out that at one point Flag riles Trakker up, and he says to him, "You're a father, aren't you?" And he says, "Do not go there." So a little bit of an allusion to something that we know about M.A.S.K, that Matt Trakker in the cartoon was famously a father to Scott Trakker. And Scott Trakker has got everybody's favorite robot buddy,
T-Bob. So just a one sentence primer, folks. If you have not rewatched M.A.S.K recently, Scott Trakker is not an occasional guest star in the 80s M.A.S.K cartoon. He is a cast member. He's in every episode, and he is he always. How old is he? 10. And he's very smart. He goes to school, so he does normal kid stuff. But his dad runs this foundation and invented all this crazy stuff and leads this team and goes into battle every episode. And sometimes Scott Trakker, sneaks along and helps. Sometimes he's in peril. And I always found him to be too much for the show, right? What I appreciated about G.I. Joe without even realizing it is that there were no kids, there were no sidekicks, there's no entree character, a character that I as the audience identify with. I'm a 10-year-old, so clearly I can't identify with these adults who are fighting for freedom unless there's a 10-year-old in the show, right? It's like, Scooby-Doo's played out, but kids are watching it. What do we do? Add a kid. What if the kid is a dog, right? And then you get Scrappy-Doo, or I don't know. I don't know if he's young, but he's his nephew, right? I don't know. And then Scott, this is not one sentence. I'm sorry. Then Scott Trakker has this robot friend who looks like R2-D2 if R2-D2 had cartoon eyes and Chopper's arms from Rebels and talked like an annoying cartoon character. And T-Bob can 1/3 transform so that he can become sort of a scooter for Scott Trakker. and oh, he talks like this, and it's not great.
Now then.
And not the last time I'm going to do my T-Bob impression on Talking Joe. And anyway, so and there was an action figure. There was a 2-pack of both the kid and the droid. And for some reason I bought them, even despite not liking those characters. I thought, neat, the kid, because I think I was aware that like you'd never get like Admiral Ledger or like Alfred action figures. You'd only get the main characters, you know, in a Batman TV show or a G.I. Joe TV show. We were not going to get Spike or Sparkplug in those Transformers toy lines. And also one of the few toys I bought at Sears because I was a Toys R Us kid. So this M.A.S.K story is already different because the kid is not in it. And I think Dan Waters is perhaps wisely withholding that, like Snake Eyes, because it could go either way. It could be just what we wanted, or it could be too much. And also, we don't know how old this kid is. Maybe he's 6, maybe he's 10 and annoying, maybe he's 15 and he wants to date, maybe he's, 18 and he's like also a brilliant inventor and is going to also drive the flying car. But this book, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, has the potential to be crowded with so many characters. So I'm in no rush to meet the kid.
And from what we know so far of this Matt Trakker as well, that he's a loner. He's been on his own. He's been on the run, so he'll have been at least physically estranged from his kid for some time. So there's already sort of a bit of an inbuilt tension there that it's not necessarily the quite the doting family unit, all American apple pie kind of aspect that possibly it was closer to in the cartoon.
I don't know if the cartoon ever mentioned Trakker's
mother. Mm-hmm.
wife, Scott's mom. I'm assuming she never gets mentioned or shown. Maybe this is a guess, once in a framed photo on a mantle. But here's a place, if that's correct, for the comic book to do something different. I bet there'll be some end of scene or end of issue cliffhanger where someone's like, Matt, Linda, she's alive, right? What? Also, folks, Duke is married. Duke is married in Larry Hama's G.I. Joe comic. Okay.
Yeah, occasionally we remember that. So the other thing, actually, one of the scenes that we were talking about that I've written down in my notes that we hadn't talked about was that Miles Mayhem is mad, but he thinks that he's the good guy. He says, "We are under an." Let me do I'm going to, thing that he's some sort of Thunderbolt Ross, Admiral Akbar character. We're under invasion from outer space, but the generator will allow us to use our own weapons against them. I hope that that's some small comfort. Your discovery, your suffering will go down in history as having preserved humanity. And you're going to find out at SummerSlam. And he also thinks he's a wrestler. So yeah, like all good baddies are sort of somewhat conflicted, and they all think that they're the good guys in their own stories. So yeah, he thinks that he might potentially be humanity's savior, doing bad things for a good reason. Observation there. Where do you want to skip to?
So the
next, I think we've covered most of it. We're in, Matt Trakker escapes. He calls up his flying car and is able to make a getaway, but he flip upside down reverses, Uno cards, flags invitation to join G.I. Joe and says, actually, I'm not going to join you. You're going to join me. And here's a watch. Bingo, bango. You're now part of my team on the M.A.S.K network.
There is a, what is this? 30, 29, 28. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, page 26. After he has pushed a button on his watch, back in the impound, Thunderhawk, the red car, its doors flip open and it knocks over the 2 military vehicles parked on either side of it. And One of them looks half like a Humvee and half like a Jeep. So I'll just say a really, really big Jeep. And I guess that means, because that thing's heavy, that the Thunderhawk is really strong. Is that the word? The car is really strong. There's a lot of torque on the hinges of those two doors. And something that occurred to me with this comic is that I'm looking at this page, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels on the page, and a lot happens. All these details for the car escaping and then flying, and some close-ups for its sort of features. Lights go on, tires spin, the jet thrusters activate, and not only does a lot happen in this comic because it's 30 pages, but a lot happens in this comic because most pages have, many of the pages have 5 or 6 or 7 panels. And so we get this very different reveal, the Energon Universe special, the opening scene of this issue 1, set up an expectation that we'd see the car take flight outside by that ravine, in a big dramatic reveal. Like if that was I feel like if that was a Marvel comic from the 2000s, pages 4 and 5 would be like a 2-page spread of the car activating and flying over the ravine, and you get this big wow moments. And that's not what happened. It happens inside in one panel, and it smashes some other cars and drives over a fence and knocks over some barrels, and then it can hover, which is maybe toy experts in M.A.S.K, remember a stat from the toy package or something that has happened in a comic or a cartoon. But on page 30, 29, 28, 30, 29, 28, 27, on the bottom of page 27, there's this circular hole in the roof of this location undisclosed. And Thunderhawk has these 4 greenish beams coming from its 4 corners pointing down, sort of like the legs of a table. And where those beams are hitting that surface under it, they sort of have these like puffy cloud emanations. So anti-gravity beams, or maybe this car is a VTOL car. Maybe Matt Trakker thought, man, Miles Mayhem is making a plane that can land up and down like a helicopter. I want to do that with my Camaro. And and then he flies away. And as you said,
to the point, it's like not conventional technology that is making this car fly, is it? And hover. And I guess the unspoken implication, I think unspoken, I could be missing something, but I think the unspoken implication is that probably Energon is involved in the powering of the car as well.
That's a good segue. And something that I forgot to say at the beginning, but now we can say it. Another word that is not used in this whole comic book, right? Jesus and goddamn, yes. G.I. Joe, yes. Transformers, no. Giant robots, yes. Energon, right? No one said that word in this comic, right?
Maybe not.
So Miles Mayhem doesn't say this is what powers the space teleporter. The scientists don't say like, oh, we dabbed some Energon on our chests, and that's where the holes came from. And Trakker and Mayhem don't say, yes, my special vehicle is powered by this thing. And we now have Energon as, and this is not the last time I will say this on Talking Joe, and it is the name of the universe, but Energon is the currency of all of these series, right? The Transformers eat it, and it's their power source, and it's how Zartan can do his thing. It's how Crystal Ball can do his thing. It's how Cobra Commander can do his thing. It's how Destro can make some crazy weapons. The Joes haven't used it yet, but they know of it because one of them got shot by one of these weapons.
And one of them is a Transformer.
Yes.
And Void Rivals is increasingly now a sort of a power-up kind of source that gives them extra kind of... like a video game power-up, essentially, is how it seems to be used at the moment.
But I think you are guessing correctly. I think the only reason why in terms of narrative, not in terms of brands and licensing. I think the only reason why M.A.S.K fits in this Energon universe is because either the masks are powered by Energon or the vehicles are powered by Energon or both. And I wonder
what we do know for sure is that the M.A.S.K technology has benefited from the study of Transformers. So that's what Shadow Watch was doing, that Matt Trakker and Miles Mayhem were doing. They were studying the Transformers, and that was then used to kind of create this M.A.S.K technology.
I wonder if we will find out that Miles Mayhem's mania comes from Energon exposure. And if not, that's okay. He can be a regular maniac who isn't taking intergalactic space crystal drug. But that would fit because I believe the universe is called Intergalactic Space Crystal Universe. I think that acronym is on the top left of every cover. I'm done, Mark. What did you think of this first issue overall? Good first issue?
Yeah, good. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing the next issue and seeing where this goes. It's we have aptly demonstrated, we're not necessarily lifelong M.A.S.K fans, sort of really drenched in the lore. We know all of the all of the character names and the vehicle names, like the red car and that guy and that girl, the goody girl and the baddie girl. But not too deep into it from a kind of a nostalgic kind of point of view. Although I did have a few of the toys and things as a kid, but it wasn't.
Did you watch the show? Did you get the show?
I think I watched a lot of the show, but I remember very, very little of it. It would have been on, like Saturday morning TV. I would have thought. I
think the other way of saying that is the show is not memorable. No, I'm serious. There's a big discrepancy between it's like Cops, like the theme song does so much heavy lifting and is both the music and the animation is so amazing, right? Like Thundercats, right? You remember like DuckTales, and I like DuckTales, but man, people remember that theme and then they watch the cartoon and they think, oh, I'm not 10. But the M.A.S.K theme is up there as one of the 5 greats. And the show's only okay. It's a little boring, and I did have some of the toys, just a couple. My brother and I were deep into G.I. Joe and Transformers and very, very shallow into M.A.S.K, but we did like it and we did watch a bit of the show. But I don't remember it, and now and then I see them for sale at a convention, or someone on the internet says that they got something on eBay, and now there are these Loyal Subjects revisions of the toys, which look really fun. My overall reaction to this first issue, I don't quite feel like I've read it because I read a PDF, and I do like to read physical objects. I don't sort of keep it in my brain as much if I don't have a left page and a right page and a physical page turn. And that's not just me, folks, that's science. And I do think that one scene was a little long for how much talky exposition went into it, but you do have a good counter that this is to catch some people up who somehow missed all these great G.I. Joe and Transformers comics. I think I was expecting, because it's a first issue, a little more M.A.S.K action, a little bit more of some of the vehicles that we do see doing more M.A.S.K stuff, flying and driving and fighting. A couple more vehicles that we maybe don't see, like Warfield and Slice, which we barely see, and that's fine. I am glad we didn't get a bunch of additional characters the way that we did in the final panels of the Energon special. So I like this issue.
For example, like on the covers, we see a lot of the other characters and vehicles. So there is a sort of a team of 4 good guys that we kind of been semi-introduced via the cover images so far, but haven't. It is very much just Matt Trakker in this issue, and the guy in the chair in the Energon Universe issue. So that we've still not been introduced to some of those core characters Yeah, but I'm okay with that.
I like the writing. I like the art. I like the color. But I liked Duke #1, G.I. Joe #1. I liked the other #1s more. And that's not a fair comparison because I'm a big G.I. Joe and Transformers fan. And G.I. Joe benefited from having, so far, 5 #1s. But I am excited. I mean, I am completely excited about this. I'm on board. I like the creative team. I like the take. I'm happy to have an additional Energon Universe series. I'm glad they waited as long as they did. I'm really excited to have a new Energon Universe comic every week. And did I say this already or did I dream this? I think what they should do, Skybound, is make an additional series called Energon Universe. It should be quarterly. I'm not making a joke. There are 52 weeks in the year, but if you have 4 series and they're monthly, that's only 48 weeks out of the year. And like Superman in the 90s, when in the Triangle era, when they added a quarterly comic called Superman Man of Tomorrow, so that there indeed would be a new Superman comic every week and no skips. I actually think they should do an anthology every 3 months, and it can have like 2 short stories throughout the Energon universe. And I would buy it and I'd read it and we could talk about it when it has to do with G.I. Joe.
Good. Yes, you did share that idea with us on a previous episode, but not everybody pays as much attention to you as I do. Possibly just Greg. So I think we're done with this one. Next time on Talking Joe, I'm pretty sure. Well, who knows what the timing of these things are, but around about this time, sometime soon, we're talking about the next issue of G.I. Joe, which is issue number 23, which is out June the 17th, the week after M.A.S.K has been released. We will continue with the story of Risk and Crystal Ball. And all of that stuff and more besides will be deep in our coverage of the Joe Fest convention, which is at the back end of June as well. And speaking of blind bags,
Mark is reaching for something to his right. He's gotten out of his chair. He's coming back. Here it is.
It's a Talkie Joe blind bag. At
Mark is holding a black padded envelope, and it's got a sticker on it, the Talking Joe logo, and it's sealed. I don't know what's in it. I mean, I do know what's in it.
So,
it's open.
in each bag.
Wait, you're telling us?
Okay. There will be a comic, a Lucky Dip comic, mostly Lucky Dip. There will be some special bags as well, and all sorts of Talkie Joe extras in there as well. Like there'll be our flyer, our trading card, and a Talking Joe sticker.
Mark,
and
2
possibly
questions.
More besides.
1, how can someone get these? And 2, what does Lucky Dip mean? Because that sounds like ice cream.
Lucky Dip is that not a common terminology in the States? Like at a fete or something, you would have like a bit like a tombola. There would be like a big kind of.
Wait, you keep saying things I don't know. At a fete and tombola, what's a Lucky Dip?
So say you'd go to a county fair.
Yes, we have those.
And there might be a stall there, and the gimmick of their stall would be that they would have a giant bucket filled with parcels, all wrapped up, different sizes, and you'd give a freshly minted $1 to the storeholder and you'd say, "Here, Squire, take me here, me shillings, and give me, in exchange, one of them lucky dips." And you would dip in,
you'd reach
and try your luck. You'd reach in
with your arm. That's the dip.
Have a rummage about, maybe close your eyes,
rummage,
and then take one of the parcels out, and you'd see what the mystery surprise would be.
Talking Joe stickers and postcards. Yes, it's like Bear Claw, but not impossible. Second question. How does someone get this from you or us?
So we will be announcing more around the time of the show. I think I'm going to be giving
Joe Fest. Not
Joe Fest. Yeah, so I think probably for the first few people in the queue, Friday night, maybe Saturday morning, might give the first people in the queue a bag, and then probably just timed giveaways at our table when we are there, and people can come and get them from us for free, gratis.
Maybe the same way that Seth Green stood up on the upper level last year and threw those was like little like glider guys. It wasn't parachute guys. And on the microphone, right, Ed Schumacher or someone's like, we're going to throw some things. Maybe you can go to the upper level and just throw them.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
That sounds great. I can't wait to have us give away, as you might remember from our Energon Universe episode. I like giving away comics, but there are not enough excuses. And we're done, right? So the wrap up stuff.
That is us done. Where can we find you, Tim, when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe or sorry, I've got a bit of a stutter there. M.A.S.K.
YouTube at Atomic Abe. Hub Comics, that's a physical store. ARealAmericanBook.com, that's a blog. And weekly on Talking Joe.
And in person at Joe Fest. You can find the show at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that points you to all of the places that we can be found, including our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingjoe. So a big thanks to all of our Patreon members: Richard, Sam, Christopher, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, D, Shane V2. I was initially going to say this one was riddled with holes, but no, I think a kinder thing to say would be that this one has got a little button behind his ear and he presses that and a mask comes out of his face. Infinite Entertainment, Gary V, Coldroth B, Squishy, Matt, and Edu B, plus newest member Jonathan. They are getting early access to content, which is ad-free, as well as exclusive content. So, Tim, I think that is us gone. I've blasted out my voice. Anything to remind us of before we just go and disappear through a wormhole?
M.A.S.K will be back, but so will Venom.
Also, how do I do these? How do I cross these lyrics into that other tune? Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast. Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Very good. Laters.